So back when I was a kid, cereals used to come in waxed paper inside the box. There used to be a bag made from, I think it's called glassine. It's like a polished waxed paper. Nowadays they come in these plastic bags. But these bags are really useful, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a moment. They're made of HDPE, high density polyethylene, which is quite a stiff plastic really, considering its thickness. But their stiffness makes it possible makes it quite easy to wash and then rinse them out. And the fact that they're made of a quite stiff plastic means that they will stand up to drain and drip dry. And these can be useful in a wide variety of contexts where you'd normally use a single-use disposable bag or cling film. This dish here often is left full of leftover vegetables at the end of a family dinner, which we might use the next day for soup or bubble and squeak or something like that. And normally I'd have just covered that with a bit of cling film, but just as easy to stick it in one of those bags to put it in the fridge, and then this bag can be washed and rinsed and used again. Or for example, I've taken these muffins out the freezer, but I only really want 2 of them, so I'm going to put 2 there, and then this packaging here I can seal up and put back in the freezer. Again, often I would have used a single-use bag there, but now I'm using a kind of multi-use bag. So for me, this is as much about utility and usefulness as it is about saving plastic, because these bags are actually they're just really nice. They're really good quality, they're durable, they're nice to handle, they don't cling to the food in the way that some other sorts of bags do. So yeah, I just find them really useful. And when they get to the end of their life, which actually I'm discovering is quite long, this bag here has been washed a couple of dozen times and it's still very usable. I think probably they can be washed 50, 100 times or something like that and reused, as long as they're not used for anything that's going to contaminate them. They're quite easy to, especially dryish foods like this, they wash out very easily. Then they can be recycled. They're just HDPE, so they can go into the recycling with plastic milk bottles and things like that. Today we're going to try to make a small rubber band powered toy car out of paper clips. So the idea for today's video came from a channel called Grandad is an Old Man, which if you haven't heard of it before, I recommend a visit, especially if you like the craft and casual sort of making videos that I do on this channel, because it's a great channel. He's a really, really talented toy maker, and he makes a lot of toys and especially little rubber band powered vehicles out of a variety of different things. And yeah, it's really fun to watch. So he's better than I am at this sort of thing, but I'm going to have a go. I was inspired by this. He made a little toy car the size of a paperclip out of paper clips, and it was rubber band powered. So this is a bit like a collab video, except I'm kind of doing this without authorization or invitation, and I'm just going to get on and do it and see what happens. So yeah, these are steel paper clips. I think they're probably nickel plated. I'm going to try to do this without any soldering if I can. So that's the plan. So I think first thing to do is I'll straighten a few of these out completely. So we've got some straight pieces of wire to work with. I won't just use straight wire, we'll use some of the natural curves of the paper clips if we get the opportunity. Let's have a go at making an axle with the wheels on it. So I'm going to kind of form a wheel on one end. I know how to do this actually, so I'm going to kind of bend that round like that into a circle. So that's going to be our wheel. Mostly round. Sure, we can tweak that a little bit later. round as we can. Okay, and we'll do the same at the other end. Kind of important that we end up with the same size wheels, which doesn't actually seem to be happening so much at the moment. Trickier than I thought, this. So that's going to be my wheels, except obviously they're no use as wheels like that. So now what I've got to do is bend that straight in there. And then we'll do the same at that end. And then, somewhere in the middle of there, we've got to take it there and same there. Okay, so that's my axle with wheels. Seems alright. Needs a little bit of adjustment and tweaking. Now, I've got to fix that onto a vehicle somehow, which is going to be fairly interesting. My thoughts here are to wrap a little loop around this axle to fix it. So, I think I'm going to make my vehicle frame sort of boat shaped. And because we're not using solder at all, I'm just going to twist these two pieces of wire together at that end to secure them. Doesn't really work all that well. Okay, we can trim that up later. So I've got two bits of wire twisted together at that end, and then I'm going to bend them parallel. That's going to go on there somehow. So bend these in the same place to keep it nice and consistent. And then like that. Good. Drop in my axle. I think this might work. Might be alright. Now I need probably a front axle, and I think that's going to need a little notch on the front for the rubber band. So let's make another axle with smaller wheels. Okay, now for this one we're going to try to make a notch right in the middle of it. So we'll do that bit first. So I'm going to bend the wire so that the ends meet to find the middle. Good. So let's try it on a piece of art foam. A little bit more grip on here perhaps. I think we could probably do something about the roundness of these wheels as well. Maybe open them out a little bit, just to improve the rolling capability. Oh, I see, that's going to dig into the ground as well. Okay, so that's got to go up a bit. Here goes. Well, it kind of works, doesn't it? So there we go. There is my rather inept paperclip rubber band powered vehicle. If you want to see a better version of this, made by somebody who's more skilled than me, then do follow the link off to Grandad is an Old Man's channel. This link in this card if you're watching on a platform with cards enabled. If not, there's a link in the video description. But there we go. That's a little project to make a paperclip wire car powered by rubber bands. Okay, in a previous video I unboxed this mini projector and I was quite surprised by what we got for the £10 price. A lot of people said, well, that's because of child labour in China. That may be true. That's possibly also true of the device you're watching this on. I mean, maybe there was just a bit more profit involved. But actually, it turns out I think this was a pricing error or something like that, and I just happened to be there at the right time to grab it. It's now no longer available. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, thought it might be interesting to do a proper full teardown of this so that we can actually evaluate its potential to be hacked. So that's what we're going to do today. So I didn't think that this screwdriver set would reach it, but actually now I think about it, that bit is quite long, and I think, yeah, that does reach the screws in there. So let's take this apart and see exactly what's inside of there. So as before, we're just going to pull apart the two halves of the clamshell case here. So I'm just going to pull off the little connector there for the speaker. So we've got a small 8-ohm speaker there, a little bit of silk or something inside the grill here to protect the optics and stuff from dust, I presume. The lens component comes out in one piece. The actual screw lens doesn't screw all the way out. I presume there's some sort of little ratchet type of arrangement in there that stops that from coming out. So that's our lens. Okay, the little keyboard assembly is one unit. and that's looks like it's kind of ultrasonic welded or something like that, or maybe just melted on there on those little posts. I'm not going to pull that off because it's just buttons and switches that go to a circuit board. I don't think there's even any electronics at all on there other than just discrete switches. Okay, what else have we got? So this mirror doesn't seem to want to come out. Interesting, some of these pieces don't want to come out anymore. Right, let's get the board out and the little LCD. So the LCD unit is a 320 by 240 LCD. I really don't want to tear this or damage it. So actually let's just detach that in a minute. So we've got the power there underneath and the keyboard connector there, so that comes off as well. I think it just pulls out. Yep. And then the LED is again on a little connector there. So I might leave that together because I don't really think there's any value in taking that ribbon cable out of there other than just making that more difficult to reassemble. Having a look at this LCD, I did try googling that code that's on there, RX020T-1200, and it did take me to a datasheet for an LCD 320 by 240 display, but it wasn't this one, and the datasheet didn't actually seem to be relevant to this. This is a 30-pin connector, I think, as far as I can tell. Okay, what else have we got? So that's the little button assembly. Then we've got the lithium battery with what looks like probably a charge controller inside there. I'm not going to tear that down either because that would just seem to be a waste. It says it's 2000 milliamp hours. Don't know if that's true or not. I don't have the equipment to actually test that. Okay, what else have we got? So there's one screw on the bottom here which will undo this heatsink. I think, yeah. Okay, and then that lifts out. And so we have a heatsink with the LED on it, a little bit of foam there, and a reflector made of, I think, thin metal. And the LED, well, let's have a close look at that. It's one of these cob LEDs. I don't know, it looks like it's got 12 LED dies inside there. I could take that off the heatsink, but what's the point? I don't really see the point in tearing that down any further. Okay, and then this is the optical path here. So we've got a Fresnel lens there. Just make sure I've got that the right way around. So scratchy surface on top. We have, that's the polarizing filter. So there's a polarizing filter, and it's actually also a half silvered mirror, which is interesting. So that's the polarizing filter that goes in the second slot there. And then a second Fresnel lens there. Interestingly, scratchy surface on the bottom for that one. And the front silvered mirror. Now it's just, it's actually a, I think it's a piece of polystyrene actually. I think that's a piece of polystyrene plastic with aluminium sprayed onto it or vapor deposited onto it. So that's a front silvered plastic mirror. So that's probably about as far as we're going to go with this. So I will take some very detailed shots of these pieces and show those now. This little system on a chip here apparently is the same one that's been used on that Linux business card that's quite famous on the web. And so this is a little ARM processor with onboard RAM and flash memory, I think. So it's a system on a chip, quite low powered, but it is capable of running a really, really lightweight Linux system. And on the other side, well, there's not very many components, but somebody did say that they spotted an EEPROM. One of these things is an EEPROM. That's a voltage regulator there, I think. So yeah, I'm not going to do a big dive here and try and reverse engineer this whole board, but I have tried Googling this board identifier here and couldn't find anything. So in terms of the hackable potential of this, it's kind of difficult because whilst there's a lot of promising components in here, once you start to replace one piece, it gets more difficult to replace all the other pieces. So it would be actually quite nice to install a Raspberry Pi Zero in here and have it drive this LCD. But I think this LCD is going to need its own driver board if I can even find it, or I would have to write my own drivers and build a little hardware interface for it, and that's beyond my capabilities. So if we were to do that, we'd probably have to replace the LCD panel. We'd also have to find a way of driving the LED, which again would probably need a discrete circuit on top of the Raspberry Pi, but obviously it could be switched from there. And then we'd need something to control charging for the battery. So it's one of these things where it's an interesting little device, and it certainly has some hacking potential for people who are very good at that kind of thing. Ben Heck, Big Clive, etc. But for someone like me who's really just a bit of a tinkerer, I think this is one of these things where I probably can't. Once I start, I'm just going to be throwing good money after bad and throwing good effort after bad. So yeah, I don't think I'll be hacking this, but I would be very interested to send this to Ben Heck and see if he can do something fun with it, because I suspect really the thing to do here is take some of these components, build a custom 3D printed case and reassemble a projector with some better functionality inside there. But then if you're going to do that, I'm not sure you'd start here. Maybe you'd start with something that has a DLP rather than a LCD panel. So there you go. So now I have the task of trying to reassemble this back together. So wish me luck. Here we go. One little thing when you're reassembling self-tapping screws into a plastic case like this, I suspect everybody already knows this, but I'll say it anyway. The best thing to do is get them located in the hole, give them a turn backwards, so anti-clockwise, until you hear them go click, and then go forwards, and that will find the original thread rather than cutting a new one. So there we go. I feel like that rattles a little bit more than it did before. Oh, it's just the lens. It's just where the lens is. So there we go. That's that weird little projector torn down and then put back together. As I say, it seems really hackable on the face of it, but actually on a deeper dive, I don't know what you could do with that unless you're an electronics expert, which I'm not. If you're familiar with this channel, you may know that every now and again I like to buy items online that seem too good to be true. So here we go again with that. I stumbled across this item while I was searching for possible tech scams, which consists of basically searching by a keyword, sorting by ascending price, then trawling through pages and pages of largely irrelevant bits and bobs until something pops up that seems like an unreasonably good bargain. And here it is, a 4K home cinema projector for £7.89. That's a little under $11 US. Now that's around about the same price as the last projector I bought on Amazon, which was a functional projector, just about. But this thing promises to be a 4K projector, Android based, so not only can it act as a wireless projector, but apparently can also directly run apps and games itself. A brand by the name of Soccer Better, which I've never heard of, weighing in at 1.8 kilos, so if all of this is true, which, I have reason to doubt just a little bit, this would actually be some kind of usable projector. At this point, two possibilities were in my mind. It could be a scam, or it could be an absurd and possibly accidentally priced bargain, so I bought it. Then I sat back to wait. The lead time was a few weeks, so I kept checking in on the progress of my order and the status of the item. Amazon showed the order as shipped and gave me a tracking number. So far, so good. About a week after that, I checked in again and found that curiously some of the details of the item had changed a bit. The picture's the same, as is the product name, but the weight has gone right down to 89 grams, and the description now appears to be talking about an illuminated cup holder for a car. Let's just read a bit of that. Colourful cup pad in the boot state, each press the switch by a mode of change. Cool and stylish car cup coaster. Non-toxic and tasteless. To enhance the vehicle interior sense of fashion, it is a good choice for you to dress up the interior of the car. And the brand has changed to Bediffer, which I suppose is appropriate. It does a bit be-differ. Anyway, I sat tight. My item had been shipped. Of course, I wasn't ever really expecting a 4K projector for that price, but it was fun wondering what might actually turn up. Another week passed, and earlier than I expected, I saw the item was close to being delivered. Then it was marked as delivered, except it wasn't here. And on the day of supposed delivery, I'd been home all day, so no chance of it being handed to a neighbour or anything. Looking deeper into the tracking data, it said that it had been delivered by Watford Royal Mail Delivery Office. That's quite a long way, like 80 miles from where I live, so that's not right. Amazon doesn't make it particularly easy to report problems with marketplace sellers, but I eventually figured out that I was supposed to message the seller and then wait 48 hours. So I did that, just saying that the tracking says it was delivered, but it wasn't. I got a reply that said, "The wrong message was sent to you due to a system failure. We got the news just from the shipping company that your parcel is returned to us now. I really don't know why it is returned. We've already asked our shipping company to check this right now, but we've not got any news from them. Until now, we have still not got the returned item, and we're not sure whether we could get the item back. Considering this situation, we advise to issue you a full refund." I replied to say, yeah, please refund the order. Also, can you clarify where parts of the description for this product changed after I ordered it? I got a reply, but no answer to that question about the item detail, just, "Thanks for your understanding, you're so kind and nice. I've refunded you through Amazon. It will take about 3 days to 4 days to let the money get into your account. Please pay attention to your account these days." I was slightly concerned that I might not actually get this refund, but a little while later I got it, well, 90% of it, and I thought for a moment I'd been scammed out of 79 pence for nothing here. But when I checked back, it was because the original sale had a 10% discount on it, so I did get a full refund. So, in conclusion, I can't really say for sure what this was, but here are a few guesses. It may just be a simple error and failure of competence. I don't think Amazon expects sellers to completely change the description of a product, but it's possible that this is an inexperienced seller who priced the thing wrong and then messed up the product listing and then marked my order as dispatched in lieu of someone else and entered someone else's tracking information into my transaction without ever sending anything to me. Or perhaps some kind of a scam where the seller never intended to send me anything and just put in any old tracking number, hoping I would never notice and they would get to keep the money.
or maybe something else. I mean, we could imagine scenarios like this being done just to capture my name and address, but it seems pretty unlikely. Ultimately, all this was a bit of an anticlimax compared to the outcomes I was expecting, so that's why this isn't a video of its own. But there we go. If you've got an idea what might have actually happened here, do let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.